Let's start today's episode.
Welcome back, Period Besties. We are here this week with some green flags. We talked a lot last week about red flags and what to avoid when you are scheduling an appointment with a doctor and or looking for a new doctor. But we thought it would be really important to share some green flags because there are some amazing providers out there, and we want you to find the best person to support you. So today, our first green flag is asking you how you feel. And I know that might sound really obvious, but sometimes we all have had this experience, I'm sure, where you go into the doctor's office, they have 7 to 12 minutes to talk to you, and they might not even be looking at you, they're just looking at your chart. So we think it's really important when you're thinking about switching providers or finding a new provider to have somebody that is connected to you. And I know that's challenging. There's so many reasons why doctors have less and less time now, but we think it's really important to find someone that asks you how you feel, because just in that question alone, if you were to ask me how I feel right now, I could go on and on and on, and I would tell you so much more information than what was actually quote unquote in my chart. So asking someone how they feel, I just feel like you get so much information, and or just the way that somebody looks, or if they're getting aggravated or frustrated, or they might start crying. We all feel different when we're in a doctor's office. So we think that's really important. Number one green flag.
Yeah, and it's a different question for why are you here? That's usually the first question is like, why are you here? Absolutely, totally. But then how are you feeling? Right? So it's a little bit more than just why are you here? And this is where taking that list that you make, maybe you make it with your coach and you sit down together and you put that list together, or you just sit down with your partner or a friend and you make a list of what you want to take in. And you can rattle it off so that you don't forget anything, feel stressed. I know when I get into a doctor's office, I get a little flustery and like I discombobulated a bit and then I forget. So I always have it on a notes app in my phone so that I also can't forget it at home. So it's a little bit different from why are you here? It's a little bit more involved and it gives you the opportunity to really go through your list and say, I don't know if these things are all related, but this is, I have itchy inner ears and my knees hurt and I'm getting headaches every day and whatever. And you can really have a chat about it and then say, and it's making me crazy and it's affecting my life. Like you can say those things in that moment. So I think it is a very important one. Another really important thing is that they test before they prescribe. And something Katie and I talked about in last episode was that if you're in there in your first session with the doctor and they're handing you birth control pills, unless that's what you went there for, that's probably not necessarily the first place to start. So you really want to see a doctor who says, well, let's run some tests before we start prescribing things, or let's run some tests before we make any judgments, So a doctor who wants to test first is a great green flag.
100%. And there's so many different types of tests. It just doesn't have to be blood work either. If you're feeling wired or tired at night, maybe they can do a saliva cortisol test instead of just random regular blood work, right? So there's also different ways to look under the hood, as they say. So just something to keep in mind too. Like there's also different things that you can.
Actually, yeah, and that made me realize like the last time I went into the doctor feeling just completely out of whack and everything, and she was like, let's take an anxiety test. Right? So it wasn't even blood work or a urine test or anything. It was literally a Q&A test that I did in the office with her. And she was like, yeah, your anxiety is through the roof. Of course you're feeling like this. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a leave and come back test. It may just be maybe we need to do a depression test or an anxiety test. Or my doctor did both at the same time. And then we got to talk through everything right then and there. So you may not even have to leave, but like having a doctor who goes, let's just run through a little test real quick is nice.
So important. I don't think I've ever had a doctor who caught on to my anxiety ever.
Yeah, she caught on to it. And then Chris was with me and he was like, yes, please. And I was like, what? And he's like, we've talked about this. And I was like, no, we haven't. And he's like, we have. And then he reminded me of the 3 or 4 times he had brought it up. And I was like, oh gosh, we have talked about it. And I just like mentally blocked it out as, no, not me. I can't possibly be depressed. I'm always anxious. This isn't new.
Well, like you personally speaking, I've always felt like this. So I didn't really know that other people didn't feel like that and or it was anxiety.
Exactly. So, but apparently the anxiety had started to like cause a depression. So he had noticed, and my doctor was the one that brought it up. Like Chris didn't even bring it up. He was just nodding along. And then I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Everyone noticed but me.
It's so hard. I mean, that's how I feel with my thyroid sometimes. Like when my thyroid is off, I don't notice, but other people do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So many things that we could say about that, but I love that you shared that. And what a great doctor to actually sit there and go through that with you.
It was really nice to have a doctor who clocked it and dealt with it immediately and then helped figure out our next path together. So, green flag for that doctor.
Yeah. And that leads us to our other green flag. Number 3 is that they're really, really listening to you. And so important in our work is listening to people, what people are not saying. So it's not even what you're saying to the doctor, but also what you're not sharing. And then listening to what you may or may not be saying and asking really good follow-up questions.
Yeah,
I think that's so
absolutely.
important. That's what we do with our clients. It's such valuable work. And so often we hear, no one's ever asked me that before, but this is how I feel. And then you can redirect and really help them figure out what might be best for them in terms of next steps. So when it comes to a doctor, it's also the listening skills. And again, we know that they're pressed for time, but that's such a huge, huge, important green flag is when they're really, really listening and then following up. They're not just listening and then saying, okay, by the way, what do you think about what we already talked about? Like they're going to follow up with how you're actually sharing and how they're actually listening.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things I noticed with my current doctor is she knows what I do for a living. She loves it. She thinks it's a freaking phenomenal thing. Every time I go in, she's like, "Oh no, we can't have you feeling less than 100%. You have important work to do. Let's nail this." And asks me a million questions. I know that's in my notes. I know she doesn't remember me necessarily with everybody, but it's there and she's got it and she's always like, "I want you out there doing your work. So what do she feels, or at least it seems like it. She's always commenting. So it feels like she's really on team. Let's help the women in the world. And like, she's part of my business success in that way because she's got my back and wants me fully operational and kicking it. And she knows I don't like to take meds. So she'll always start with like, all right, I know you don't want to take a medication, so let's try this, or, but then we'll try this if that doesn't work. So she absolutely, I don't put it in my notes or whatever, but she paid attention. And so she always tries and finds the way to that healthier version of myself before going down the medication route, except for obviously like thyroid meds. We needed those. That was a non-negotiable. So, sometimes you just have to do it.
Yeah. Are you feeling exhausted, moody, bloated, and irritable? I can help you. Thriving, my 12-week group program for perimenopause and beyond, starts Monday, May 5th. It's community plus personalized support to help you create the diet and lifestyle foundations that are necessary during perimenopause and menopause. Together, you will start to feel energized and nourished so you can juggle work and family life during this challenging time of your life. Would love to have you join us. Link in the show notes for more details. And then something else we talked about before we jumped on to hit record was really having a doctor ask you about your life, like your diet, your lifestyle, your sleep, your stress, even relationships.
Yeah.
Are you finding joy? How are you laughing? Just really interesting questions about your life outside of how you feel. Because so often, and in our work, this is what we're doing every day with our clients, we're really helping connect the dots. Because recently, when I was in the doctor, I was like, I am sleeping really, really well, but I'm exhausted. So there's something's missing in between that. But she wouldn't have known I was sleeping well unless I told her that I was like getting like 10 to 12 hours a night of sleep and then waking up exhausted. And now that I had to change my thyroid medication, now I'm feeling better. And I have to say, it's warmer out, the days are getting longer. So I have life again.
Yeah.
I always forget that the winter, no matter where I live, really puts me into kind of like a deep, dark, tired spiral. But this was different than normal. But, just really connecting the dots, I think it's so important in general, even when you're speaking with your friends, like asking them about what's going on and talking about all those things holistically. So,
Yeah.
big green flag.
Big one. I know. I remember the very first doctor who asked me about my diet. And I remember just sitting there being so shocked that an actual doctor was paying attention to diet, which, I was already well into my health coaching career. Actually, I was already well into my menstrual coaching career. So I knew the importance of diet, but to have a doctor who was like, who actually asked about it, I remember that moment so clearly. Like it's such a clear, because it was just such a shock to hear a doctor go, and how are you eating? Are you getting fruits and vegetables? Are you eating plant-based proteins? I was just flummoxed in that moment and was like, oh my God, I was not prepared for this question because I've never had a doctor care about diet before.
I
But
know you're like, wait, what do I eat?
yeah, I know. It's not something that comes up with a lot of doctors, but if you get a doctor that asks about diet and lifestyle, sleep, those kinds of things, then that's a big green flag. Big green flag for sure.
Yeah, it's life changing, honestly. And then the last, I mean, there's many more, but this is what we thought were the most important green flags was that follow up. So oftentimes you go to the doctor and then they just post your results on the portal. You get an email from the portal saying your lab results are ready. You look and you literally have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
You're like,
We spent a lot of time on Dr. Google going, is this the normal range?
but yeah, and then you're gonna get like 50 pros, 50 cons, right? Like you're not gonna get like even Chat GPT, all of that. Like it's not gonna actually tell you what your healthy norm is because it's based, we know labs, or maybe you don't know, but labs are based on the whole population and mostly the sick population. So your norm might be something else depending on your overall health versus what's coming up on the lab reports. So a good follow-up call, a good follow-up email, or even a good follow-up appointment, maybe it's virtual, maybe it's in person, to review. So you went in there, you let them know how you were feeling, what was going on, you do these test results, and then what's the follow-up? Like, what are your next steps, right? We think that's so vital and so important because most of the time, if you don't get that good follow-up, you might not ever feel better because you don't know what to do and or nobody's holding you accountable either.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with our clients, right? We're working with them and their doctors and helping them make these healthy changes in their life. But we need the doctor to also start that and give them a plan so that we can help support them depending on what is going on. So follow up is
Yeah.
so important.
It is so important. It's one of those things as well that I don't know if this is everywhere, but here, the policy at the practice I go to has changed. So now you have to have a follow-up appointment after every blood work, after any prescription change. So you don't even have a choice in that appointment. So over the holidays, I got citalopram, anti-anxiety, antidepressant combo kind of pill. And so as soon as she prescribed it to me, she was like, I have no choice. You have to do a follow-up with me. It is policy. So in that appointment, before I was allowed to leave the examination room, I had to make an appointment. I had to make the follow-up appointment for it. So
Incredible.
right. And then in the follow-up appointment, I was able to say, like, I'm feeling better, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay, let's do one more because we had added in a muscle pain issue that I was having. So she was like, okay, we got to do it again. So I saw her like every single month for 3 or 4 months in a row because we were adjusting everything until we were like, okay, this seems like we're at a good hum now. But I wasn't allowed to leave the room. And I did virtual follow-ups as well because it was winter and we're in the mountains, it gets snowy sometimes. So I was like, let's just do virtual ones in case. And the same thing, she was like, before we get off the virtual appointment, I need you to book the next one because we're making an adjustment. So you may see it. I don't know, it depends on the practice and the insurance companies and blah, blah, blah. But you may see your practices being more insistent on follow-ups these days, which is really good. So if that's part of what's going on, that's great. Green flag. Keep doing that. And another thing that, Katie, when you were sharing about the test results, one of the things that Katie and I see in our practice all the time is people who come back and go, my thyroid's within the normal range, but I feel like crap. And it's like, okay, well, if you're in the bottom half of a testing range, you don't qualify for medication, but you don't feel good either. Right. So that's a lot of Katie and I do is helping people who are falling within the normal test range, but not feeling great. They still, I'm still tired. I'm still brain foggy. I'm still fatigued. All those classic thyroid issues, which for women in health comes up a ton for us. We have a lot of thyroid issues with women. So it's just like, same thing with the hormones, right? You may go get that blood work done, and that day your hormones are a perfect snapshot. That's what happened to me. My blood work came back perfection. She was like, you're not even close to perimenopause. And I was like, I have been in perimenopause for 3 years now. There's no way. But that day, that snapshot in time, my blood work was perfection. So now I'm doing some longer other tests that can test it because that 1 minute of blood work was not a good picture of where I am in perimenopause. So it was absolutely, the tests came back, but the reality is Katie and I talk each other through perimenopause constantly. Like, okay, but did you try this? Oh God, I forgot about that. Great idea. Because you can't coach yourself very well. So
No. And that's so important. And that's kind of the gist of everything that we're saying is that it's so hard to see what's going on yourself, which is why having a really good practitioner, doctor, one of us helping and taking a look, because it's so much easier in life just to like help other people.
it's
So
better
much
in
harder to help
teams.
yourself. That's why you need a team, and that's why we're so pro team. And it's just one of those things where you might not find all of that in a doctor, but maybe really figuring out what is the most important to you when you're working with somebody and trying things out. You can interview doctors now. Like, if you're not into the person you're working with and 3 other people have suggested 3 different offices, call and make a get to know you appointment. Like, you can kind of almost tell if you get along with someone, if you jive with what they're kind of saying versus, driving all the way there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And hopefully this is helpful for you. It really is, because there's red flags, there's green flags, and we really just hope you can find a really amazing doctor that can help support you wherever you are in your life, wherever you are in your hormonal journey.
Absolutely. It's that saying that life is better in teams, but you have to have good teammates. So we hope that these green flags helped you so you know what to look for in a good teammate on your health team. And we'll see you back here in our next episode. Let us know if there's green flags that you've seen, that you've loved, that you would like to share with us, stories you'd like to share with us. We want to hear it all. If you've got some red flags that popped up after last week's episode, let us know or go back and catch up. We want to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Sasha Washburn and at Katie Bresek, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresek.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.